The town of Seahaven was a place where the sun always seemed to shine a little brighter. Gentle waves lapped at the sandy shore, their rhythm a soothing melody. Salt air, tinged with the sweet scent of blooming honeysuckle, drifted through the streets. It was the kind of place that whispered of peace and promised simple joys. Isla, with her heart as warm as the sun-drenched sand, embodied the spirit of Seahaven. She lived in a cozy cottage with blue shutters and a porch swing that creaked a friendly welcome. Isla knew everyone in town, greeting them with a smile that crinkled the corners of her eyes and a kind word that brought a spark of joy to their day. Life had taught Isla the power of kindness. She believed that even the smallest act of love could ripple outwards, touching countless lives in ways both seen and unseen. It was a philosophy she embraced with every fiber of her being, a light that shone brightly within her soul. Thomas, in stark contrast to Isla's sunny disposition, carried the weight of the world on his shoulders. His heart, once filled with laughter and dreams, had grown heavy with disappointment and loss. He had retreated to Seahaven seeking solace, hoping to outrun the ghosts of his past. He lived a solitary life in a weathered cottage perched atop the highest cliff overlooking the sea. The relentless crashing of the waves mirrored the turmoil within him. Thomas kept to himself, his interactions with the townsfolk limited to curt nods and gruff replies. He believed that life was a series of fleeting moments, best faced alone. Their paths crossed for the first time at Mr. O'Malley's bakery. Isla, her basket laden with freshly baked bread, noticed Thomas standing by the window, his gaze distant and filled with a deep sadness she couldn't ignore. He looked so lost, so utterly alone, that a wave of compassion washed over her.
Good morning, Thomas. Isn't it a glorious day?
Thomas, startled by her cheerful greeting, grunted a response, his eyes narrowed in suspicion. He couldn't recall the last time someone had addressed him with such genuine warmth. He had grown accustomed to the wary glances and hushed whispers that followed him like shadows.
I baked an extra loaf of banana bread this morning. I do hope you like walnuts. A little something to brighten your day.
She placed the warm loaf, wrapped in a checkered cloth, into his hands. Thomas stared at the unexpected gift, his fingers hesitantly tracing the outline of the walnuts beneath the cloth. He had forgotten the simple pleasure of a kind gesture, the way it could chip away at the walls he had so carefully erected around his heart.
Why? Why are you being so kind to me?
Love is like sunshine, Thomas. It's meant to be shared.
Love only leads to pain.
Ah, but that's where you're wrong, my dear. Love is a risk, yes, but it's a risk worth taking. For in loving and being loved, we truly come alive.
Her words, spoken with such simple wisdom, resonated deep within Thomas's soul. He had spent so long shielding himself from the world, from the possibility of further hurt, that he had forgotten the transformative power of love.
A few years ago, a scrawny, flea-ridden cat wandered into my garden. He was missing an ear and his tail was just a stub. He was the most pitiful creature I had ever seen.
Thomas, captivated by her story, found himself leaning closer, his gaze fixed on her face. He had never seen anyone speak with such tenderness about a stray cat.
I named him Whiskers. He was wary at first, his eyes filled with suspicion and fear, but I persisted, offering him food and a warm place to sleep. Slowly, day by day, he began to trust me. He would brush against my legs, purring his gratitude. One day, Whiskers disappeared. I searched everywhere, my heart breaking with each passing hour. Just when I had given up hope, I found him huddled beneath my porch swing, weak and injured. He had dragged himself back to me, the one person who had shown him kindness.
Isla's daily acts of kindness, like gentle waves eroding a hardened shoreline, began to soften the edges of Thomas's bitterness. She brought him warm bread from the bakery, left jars of her homemade jam on his doorstep, and shared stories of her life in Seahaven. He found himself looking forward to her visits, a flicker of warmth igniting in his chest at her cheerful greetings and genuine concern. He began to emerge from his self-imposed isolation, venturing into town more often, exchanging smiles with the townsfolk.
You were right, Isla. Love is a risk worth taking.
And in that moment, as the last rays of sunlight bathed Seahaven in a warm glow, Thomas realized that his heart, once so filled with bitterness, had begun to heal. Love, like the endless tide, had washed over him, revealing the beauty and meaning that had always been there, hidden beneath the surface.